From the top rope, this is the Squared Circus.
Square! Ah! That's the occult phenomenon. You know what I think?
Recording in progress.
I realize I like paint.
That was a botch. Hold on.
So, anyway, that's how it's going to go.
Okay, so All In has finally happened. And before we start, I just want to say what we're not going to talk about, what I don't want to talk about. CM Punk backstage shit.
Oh, yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. He and from what it was, yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So the show,
I was like, I don't care.
Yeah. The show itself, I mean, what did you think overall?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. Again, with me, after by the third or fourth hour, I get like a little like tired. Yeah. I still think they're too long. That's just me nitpicking. I'm sure if I was there live, I would like it better. But when you're home, unless you have a big bunch of crowd and this and that or whatever, it just after like 3-4 hours, you're like, okay. And it has nothing to do with the show being bad or nothing. That's my own preference. Like that's just my own shit. Where like after about the fourth hour, I'm like, okay. And that's with anything really for me. So that's my only gripe is how long it was. And apparently it was longer that they didn't tell us about the 2 hours you said that there was for pre-show.
Well, it was weird.
And what happened with that?
I went and watched. I mean, they just did a couple of little in-ring, like house show stuff just to get the crowd hyped up. And it was cool. It was only like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes worth of stuff. There was a thing with Hobbs and Miro. They did a contract signing for All Out. And a little brawl like they do. And then there was something where like Jeff Jarrett and those guys all came out. Satnam Singh and Lethal and Sanjay Dutt. And Jarrett just talked shit about England. And then Big Show music hits and he comes to the ring and punches him out. He comes out with who was it? Oh, Anthony Ogogo and Grado. So like two UK guys, and gets a little pop from the crowd, and then that's the end of that. And it was fun. It was a little weird it was weird when you turned it on and when I turned it on, and I watched it on Bleacher Report, which can go fuck itself. Again, problems with Bleacher Report. Took me, I don't know how long to get the sync fixed on support chat, trying to get the damn feed to work. I couldn't. Anyway, but I turned it on, Bleacher Report a couple of minutes before start time, 9 a.m. West Coast time. And it shows show coming soon. And then Renee gets on. It's like, welcome to hour 2 of All In. I'm like, wait, what? I just started.
See, honestly, I wouldn't have even watched the first hour anyway. But again, that's just me. But yeah, it is kind of weird because they didn't even tell anything. Nothing really. Like everything said it started at that time, like only an hour before. I think it was like 1 o'clock on Eastern, so it started at noon, obviously, which would be 9 o'clock your time.
Right, pre-show noon, 9 o'clock my time. But then there was this other like pre-show that was, I guess it was on the YouTube feed and obviously live, but was not on the pay-per-view feed. I don't know. That was weird. It was a weird way to start for me, as well as more bullshit with Bleacher Report that just didn't help the experience. I mean, it's not at first. I'm like, oh, okay, the sync's a little off. I can deal with it. And as I watched, it got more and more off to the point where, and I had to count to see like how far off is it. And it was 15 seconds. So like, what was the first match? It was the tag team match, right? Aussie Open.
Yes. That was that for the pre-show you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
that was a good match. All of
it
them
was
were
good
matches, to be honest.
I went back and watched a bunch of it. Because my girlfriend slept through it because it was at 9 a.m. and she had wanted to see it, and B, because I watched it with the sync off, and it was like too weird to just like hear something happen 15 seconds before it happens, and then hear the count 1, 2, 3, crowd goes crazy, and then like, wait, what? And then 15 seconds later, you see what happens.
So, wait, I got one thing to say before you go on to the next match.
Yeah.
Me and you are respectful where like when we're watching or something, we'll actually see where we're timed up. Because I could care less if we're watching and I'm a couple seconds ahead or whatever, I just make sure I don't say shit. There's some people that will text me though that they don't even know, like they don't ask me if I'm watching or not, anything, any night, and they'll just sit there and say, "Oh my god, this." I'm like, why the fuck would you sit there and tell me something? You don't know if I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
that pisses the fuck out of me. I'm just like Drew does that a lot. Drew will sit there and text me something. I'm like, I can't watch it until the next day. I hope he's listening to this. Fuck you, Drew.
Do you hear that, Drew?
He does it. He does it all the time to me, and I'm like, God, man. I'm like. And some things I really don't give a fuck. But if you know, like, if you're just kind of like interested and like you're kind of excited, you're like, I don't really want to know the answers. It's the same people who videotape fucking sports and they don't want to know the damn score.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
common
so
fucking sense.
Respectful with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It common sense all the time.
Did you see that match? Oh,
just say, are you watching tonight?
Can you believe this happened? Yeah. Are you watching?
Are you watching today? That's all
Whatever.
You have to say. Because, like, obviously my hours are so weird. You don't know when I'm going to be watching for the most part. So anyway, sorry, that was just a side note because I get that all the time on every fucking show, every goddamn event. So I'll hear something that before I even know what's going on anyway.
And then you fucker.
I do shit just to fuck with you, though.
Once every couple of months, just long enough for me to forget that it's a thing that you could be doing. You'll know that like I'm a little bit behind you, and you'll use it to fuck with me. Like, oh my god, can you believe? CM Punk won. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm just kidding, dude.
Yeah. What was I did that to you yesterday. Yeah, I totally forgot what it was though.
It was about a horse. Like, oh my god, there's a horse.
Oh, Hangman Page oh my god. Hangman actually came out with a horse. Really? No, I'm just fucking with you. But yeah. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just had to do that rant because I get that all the time.
So anyway, that was a weird. I mean, I don't know. There's just these little things with AEW that, like, because they're still new and they still have the veneer of like being up and coming and not established as much. Little things, just like welcome to the second hour when you don't know what's going on, makes it seem like, what are you talking about? Why are you confusing us? It makes it seem.
How about
like
common sense too? Of video productions of letting the fucking guy that's dragging the damn float wear black, like where he disguises himself a little bit better. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they do shit like this all the time. Like the cameraman is always where you don't want it to be.
I know.
And you're like, why would you take that shot? But anyway, that was another thing too. I kind of laughed at. I was like, why do we even see him? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
So talk about overall real quick before we get into the matches. Like, I think like, one of the main points you had talked about a number of times was how the crowd will make the match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hopefully, if they mic it right. And I think they did a good job dialing in the audio because you could hear the announcers pretty well, and you could hear the crowd for the most part. You could tell they were adjusting it as they went because in the beginning, balance wasn't quite there.
It got better. It got better because I'm like, is this crowd dead? I'm like, I don't hear anything.
Yeah, and it was funny on the Will Ospreay match. This is the one specific thing I'll talk about right now. Is like that pop was fucking insane to the point where they had to adjust the mics, and you heard the audio get adjusted because all of a sudden the crowd sounded really muffled, like they had to pull down certain frequencies and do something to kind of like pull the crowd back so you could hear the announcer still. That's wild. That was fucking wild. That was awesome. The only detraction I'll say about that was like, I wish they had more UK people there. I wish they could have found a way to get Zack Sabre Jr. in there, to get that big pop.
In a way, I feel like they were trying to do things that make sense too, not just have the cheesy, like, because I mean, I think they feel like Saraya won because of the UK and this and that, whatever. She probably wouldn't have won if it wasn't there. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't think she would have won. So like they were probably trying to stay away from shit like that. But like, Will Ospreay actually makes sense because he did a bunch of shows with. So like it just makes sense that he was part of that.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a good match. I actually enjoyed the Jericho match. I thought they did a good
Yeah.
job.
I did too. The last thing I'll say about that was like for a while I was saying like they should figure out a way to get Jamie Hayter in here.
Mhm.
Because even if she can't wrestle, just so she has, she'll get a pop, she'll go in and do a promo, she could come out with Britt or something. She'll help get the crowd up just by her presence. But now that I know they're doing it again next year, I feel like it was good to hold her back
Mhm.
because it'll be an even bigger
Yeah.
reception because of the fact that she didn't get to be there this year. So, because I'm assuming there are plans for her to be in a prominent role next year.
For me, I enjoyed all the matches, but I thought it actually got better after the third or fourth match, which is normally I get like tired or whatever, but like after like it's I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but like after all the elite people matches went away and that whole Moxley match, because I think that's gotten watered down. Even though it was decent,
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing Eddie. That match got watered down, I think, because they have it all the fucking time of like different matches. So it's like everyone's like, I think it would have been a bigger pop if when Orange did what he did if they didn't have a match almost every week of the whole like blood and guts and this and that. And,
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
I had the
But
same
yeah,
experience. I had the same exact experience. It was at the women's match that I really perked up for this. And I heard the
because I feel like
opposite.
the
Like,
storytelling.
yeah, I think there was more story going on there. There was more conflict throughout the match. There was more
Mhm.
like unique storytelling, right? Like, I mean, the Bucks and FTR match was a good match. There's no way those guys aren't going to have a good match, but it was part 3. It was another one of their matches, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I liked it, but it didn't draw me in the way the way the women's match did and the matches that followed it, because there was something about the story they were telling that was bringing me in instead of just like, here's another Young Bucks match, here's another FTR match. And FTR, I think, has had better matches, and I like the Bucks.
Yeah.
Nothing,
And
not,
like I
not,
said,
not,
it's not me saying they were bad because I enjoyed it too. It that MGF and Cole match, it makes a lot of sense now why they headline, because I know we were questioning it. I'm like, are they really going to be the headline? And it's not what, because we didn't know, but then also we didn't realize that they were going to be the hottest thing with that tag team that they
yeah.
had going, which I still believe that they were going to be broken up by now, but because they're so hot that they kept them in and they made everything the way it did because they're so hot right now.
I think,
So
I think that that's the one match that they really, really built up to the level of this event.
it was amazing. And from the first match, from when they did it, when won, to now, it was just a perfect bookends
Yeah.
of it, and it was incredible.
And
It reminded me of a. Go ahead.
no, say what it reminds you of.
No, like it reminded me like the whole like Daniel Bryanson, like when he did the whole, like how crowd got him into whatever. I think you remember that one
Sure.
WrestleMania when he had to go fight in the beginning and whatever. This one reminded me of that because of like I said, the crowd is probably what dictated this outcome. I honestly
Right.
still believe that they didn't plan this in the beginning. I believe that the crowd said, "All right, wait, we have to do this," and the storytelling in the last match was just incredible. I just thought even the post match was just really good. I think they're like, okay, we got to do something that's kind of like the bloodline type story type match. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
storytelling type thing. And they're better wrestlers. So like they're better wrestlers than Roman Reigns. So like it was almost
Right.
like a near perfect match for me. You know?
I mean, well, we're talking about the main event match, so like let's talk about it. I think this match just hit everything perfectly. Like you said, it kind of has the bookends from the first match till this match, but still at the same time, we're like, for example, the FTR and Young Bucks match, to bring that up again, like that was the finale, right? And I had talked about this earlier where
Mhm.
I felt like this should have been kind of like a WrestleMania where the matches were more of like the finales of these feuds. Um, this had that feel of being like, okay, this is the determination, right? This is what, this is the bookend, the way you put it, but you still want to know what's next.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And to have that, you're still intrigued at the end of it. I think that's perfect. Like, and that's one of the things about the women's match I think that worked really well was like there's an outcome. It's a It's a title match, and you have the title change. So there's kind of a finality to what happened, but you still know there's some tension. What's going to happen with Tony Storm and the Outcasts? Is Saraya turning babyface? Like, I think if you can have that where you feel like you've got the closure of the angle, but there's still more to come, then that's the formula.
Here's another thing too to bring back the final match. This is the reason why I love it so much too. No one knew how that was going to go, and they did it where I didn't see anyone pinpoint that. No one pinpointed that they were actually still going to be friends. Like everyone said, one's going to turn on the other, or he's going to turn on this one, or this one. No one said that. Oh, it's going to end in where they're still going to be friends and they're going to be team. Like no one. So like it's the fact that you did such a good job storytelling, whatever, and you still didn't do an ending that everyone that I read did not choose is impressive.
Yep.
It's a very impressive way to like end. And you're like, all right, this is great. Like this was definitely like a great moment. It's a great moment to end it because a lot of times like the endings are like not necessarily so AEW, but like they do like after the end, it's like, all right, that was kind of like anticlimactic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, but like this was just such a great way to go and great ending and everything that like you felt like, and so happy that in our time it was like fucking 1 o'clock and it wasn't like no midnight. so I appreciate that way better.
Yeah. I finished at 2 and I still got other shit done.
Yeah. And even like, I was actually impressed, honestly, of the trios match.
I liked it.
It was actually I thought that was much better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I appreciate Buddy I gotta mention, sorry. What Buddy holding the lantern for Bray Wyatt. I thought that was a good touch.
That was great.
I thought that was a good touch for it. It's cool to see that Acclaimed again somewhat. I don't know if I agree with the outcome because I still think that the House of Black, even though we make fun of them all the time, they still felt more realistic. Like obviously not realistic, but like more like a threat than Acclaim and Billy Gunn to me for like the trio. So like it just felt more like important, the belts. So I don't know. I'm hoping that the Acclaim could do that too with Billy Gunn. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not, but I don't mind it. I'm not mad at the outcome because I love the Acclaimed. So it's not that. I just thought that so that part like you could probably debate on, but no, I was impressed with the match. I thought all of them did good.
I thought it was great. And I thought the build was really good. I thought having the swerve retirement of Billy Gunn and then having him come back really added to the drama of it. I think it was another match that really kind of lived up to the the hype of the show.
And it seemed like they even like got the crowd too. Like what the hell is a gigantic? What was that giant name?
Brody King.
Yeah, Brody King. Like even he like just to get the crowd going and like the way he was moving, everything just seemed like you were kind of like glued, almost like what's going to happen.
Yeah,
everything just seemed in sync. They have great chemistry, so I hope that they do have another match because I mean, it seemed like they actually had great chemistry for that you didn't expect.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the Acclaimed. I'm just glad that the Acclaimed were on this show because for a while it looked like they weren't going to be.
Yeah,
and
they kind of need belts. That's a good point. They kind of need belts, otherwise they kind of get thrown in the mix.
Yeah, which I mean, I think at a certain point they won't need the belts. They can just come out and do their shtick. But after what was the other one that we liked? Coffin match.
That was decent too.
Yeah, I liked it.
His hair was still out though. I will still say they kept on saying that they
dreads.
The dreads were still out because they made sure that the fingers or everything was like in there.
Yeah, had the bat, had the fingers.
You thought that.
Everybody thought that. Hopefully they use it.
You're like, I'm like, wait a second, the dreads are still there, and he's probably gonna see like, you didn't win. I had my dreads out. But that was a good match as well. Sting is great. I love the way I keep on repeating myself. I love the way how they do Sting as as one of the veteran guys. I feel like a lot of people like when he messed up, he didn't mess up, but the table didn't break, and then all of a sudden they allowed him to do it again, and the crowd still got behind him, didn't give a shit. They're like, dude, this dude's 64 years old. Fuck him. He's doing so what I'm saying? Let him do the fucking and he did the move. He did
Yeah. But the second time he's like, oh, I'm gonna do like the elbow drop. I'm gonna fall my full weight on the table this time, so I know it doesn't not break again.
He does, and this is the person that like they wouldn't even let him wrestle in the other company, and you're like, and now he's doing. And look at Saraya too. Like she's got champion too, and she was supposed to be she was supposed to not be able to wrestle, quote unquote, from all the doctors, and now all of a sudden now she's a champ. So it's I don't know if it's like it's just impressive. I just think there's ways to do it.
This is me being kind of tinfoil hatty, but I think sometimes WWE uses that as an excuse to like write people off. I think they did that.
Because it wasn't Daniel Bryan was the same way.
Yeah. And I think it's because Vince didn't want Bryan. They just didn't have any big plans for Bryan, but knew the fans liked him. And it was like the only way for me to deal with this without the fan backlash is to get a doctor to say that he can't wrestle. And then all of a sudden, when AEW becomes a threat, he's like, no, he can wrestle again. Let's re-sign him. To me, I can't help but think there's some shenanigans going on.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Because like I said, he was only champ just because the crowd made him the champ, and CM Punk walked. It wasn't that one. Isn't that the time when CM Punk walked out, and then they didn't know what to do and this and that, and then all of a sudden the crowd was just so behind Daniel Bryan. That's why they made him to champion.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel. Because I will say I love AEW crowds. They always seem to be a little bit more hype and more pumped than most places, like especially with WWE. Right. It might be the locations, but it just seems like they're always more hype. But they need to, like, because there's some so far, like, in a world where people don't care that they will announce that they disagree with something, you don't hear that a lot in crowds at an AEW show.
Right. Except
you
for
know
Punk.
What I'm saying? There's not many. Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, you're gonna get boos because if you're heel, and not, and most people don't. Punk is Punk. I ain't gonna talk about him, but but for the most part, like, do you see that too? Most part, people don't see that much displeasure in the live crowds. They like, yeah, they could be silent, but it's not like they're booing or saying like, "What the," you know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell when you're in a WWE arena and people are pissed, they'll fucking sit there and let you know. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that a lot.
When they have something really bad, I mean, I think like way back when they had like the what was it? Brandy.
What was that? Yeah, I was about to say that Brandy faction.
Nightmare Collective. That was bad.
Yeah.
That didn't land, and they weren't letting it go. But they did eventually.
I also want to say that I am never ever really that displeased of watching an AEW event. I watch both. I watch both. But so many times I come up with the other company, I'm like, oh my God, I just wasted 4 hours. Like, what the fuck is this? And like, I'll talk to like my friend Marlena who watches WWE too. And she's, yeah, this just sucks. But like, I never have that feeling watching an AEW. And it's not like I'm like, because I like both. I like both. Like, I like certain things from both companies that they do. But like, I never, on a pay-per-view event, that is, I never sit there and be like, oh my God, was fucking terrible. Like, I never feel that way with an AEW event.
Yeah. I don't think anything was bad. I think there were things that were like, I would put it this way, like a match like MJF and Cole was like, it kind of made, you could have put that in any scenario and it would have blown everybody away. I think some of these other matches, I ended up liking everything, even though we were critical of some of the bookings. But I think the hype kind of made the match. It made everything feel a little bigger because it was physically bigger. It was a bigger crowd.
Yeah.
So it added some importance to those matches. But like, you can't.
Those top tiers must suck.
I know, right?
Those top tiers. Watch it. They must look like little fucking ants. And you're like, because like when you see how huge the arena is, after you get past the first section, I was like, they're gonna look smaller and smaller. And I'm like, how the fuck do you even see anything? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like even the TVs, if you're high up, those TVs weren't even that big to even tell what's going on. I'm like,
you gotta like, you gotta like buy the pay-per-view and watch it on your iPad while you like,
while you're watching. Yeah. Now, another thing too is because I went to a live match before. I only went to one when it was televised, and man, I would never do that again. But obviously the pay-per-views is different because there's no commercials and shit, so you're constantly going on. Yeah. But you don't hear the commentaries, do you? When with the crowd, doesn't the crowd not hear them?
No, it doesn't.
See, that's got to be boring as fuck to me because I tell you why, and I'm only saying this as a side note, because like I went to like basketball game. If you're not by like the first few rows and you're above and you can't, and they look like little ants, and you don't know what the fuck's going on, and you can't even hear the commentary. You're like, all right, I'm just gonna clap because everyone else is clapping. I don't have no idea what I'm clapping for. I'm just gonna just sit there and clap, and I'm gonna like I don't even know who you are. I'm just gonna do it. So
I know a lot of people they would go to like ball games and listen to the call on the radio.
I wonder if people would do that. Like, I wonder if people like actually sync into their apps or something and like do that. But because that would be it'd be kind of weird. Wouldn't that be kind of odd to watch like all the way up in the tiers and you can't hear shit besides the crowd and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know.
It would be
I know that's
hard,
a side note. I'm sorry.
hard to pull off, but if they could like do something like that where you can like, I don't know, have an app when you buy a ticket, then you can like log into this app and hear the commentary, or just have the commentary streamed somewhere, just the audio, so you can hear it while you're at the show.
And I got why a lot of the card was placed, because at first I was like, this is kind of weird placement for matches. I remember when we were starting watching, but then it made sense to me that as it went on, because you wanted it dark when the coffin match was there. You wanted it dark when House of Black came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, with it being an outside thing. So that made sense then to me, because obviously House of Black wouldn't look as cool if it wasn't dark. You know what I'm saying? Like with their entrance and shit like that.
Yeah.
I love outside arenas though. That was another thing I mentioned. I was talking to one of my friends, and we were on the phone, and we weren't talking about wrestling for a little bit, but I was like just chatting with her, and I was like, I just love outside arenas because I don't know, there's something about it. It makes it more open. It just makes it feel more special, because a lot of times you don't have outside arenas.
Almost
so
never.
To me, like, I feel like it's like, so like when let's say like when SummerSlam is in an inside arena now, that bothers me, because I'm like, if it's summer, pick an outside arena, make it seem special. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it seem special. Like, so I enjoyed the fact that it was at that, and like it was opened, and it even felt opened. I'm sure they liked it too because of the air, so you're not feeling all stuffy and shit.
I think
it was just. I'm trying to think of what else.
There was some other stuff on the pre-show that was like, I felt like they could have done. I mean, how much time can you take away from other things? But like, they had like RJ City doing some backstage stuff. Like, not that it was like mind-blowingly amazing, but like little things like that just make it feel more special. He's not at the normal show. It's like, oh, we've got like all of our people, all hands on deck for this big thing, and you have little snippets of things, and I don't know, have somebody talk about local stuff. I think he did a little bit of that. They had the sports desk.
Sasha Banks tickets.
Yeah.
She didn't buy those tickets.
Yeah, no, of course not. Probably got flown in too.
Yep.
They have like the more of the sports desk feel, like before the pre-show. They had like Anthony Ogogo and Big Show, like on like the round table thing, like they do. It was too small of a table for everybody. That was a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like just a little bit more. There could have been just little tiny details, I think, just to drive home like the importance of it. Make it feel a little more special.
The pre-show was more special too, because we got to hear Big Show whole entire hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this, he was like cutting people off, and he kept on talking, that you could tell the other people were actually getting upset, because like every time Renee was saying something or whatever, and he would just like butt in and then start talking, he just kept on and on. The other two just sat there like they're like just sitting there, like didn't even try, because he just kept on talking. I was like, ooh, there's gonna be a fight going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was you also gotta understand, I think too, is you needed more people for All Out as well. So you had to do something. They didn't really do anything in All Out at All In, right?
Not really. That they did the pre-show thing with Miro and Hobbs, and then I guess at the press conference afterwards, they started announcing some things. So I think they announced.
It's only a week away.
I know. I don't know why they didn't put that stuff into the show too. I don't know. I guess whatever. But one of the things they announced was, I guess, Omega versus Takeshita for All Out, which that match was like, it's cool. Like Takeshita pinned Omega, like that made it feel like, okay, we're doing something with this, and it was unexpected. Especially when you
Orange
have
against
like
Mox.
Orange against Mox was announced in the after
It is
press
it is
conference
announced.
too.
Okay.
Well, they announced Orange versus Penta on Wednesday, and whoever wins that will go against Mox at All Out. So it'll be Orange versus Mox.
Yeah.
But I liked that Omega going over
What?
or Takeshita going over Omega in that match, partially because also you had Juice Robinson, who was kind of like, the what is it, like Star Trek, the guy in the red shirt. And basically, like
Yeah.
he's the guy who's going to take the pin. Everybody feels like they know it.
Why
That
is
was
he going?
cool.
I'm sorry. I have a question. Why is he going against Penta?
Orange,
Yeah.
because they have to do something between now and All Out to keep the thing going.
Because I was like, they were teammates, and now all of a sudden, I don't know. I'm like, wait a second, wait, what?
Yeah, they had to see the press conference. I happened to have it in the background on at work, so I caught it, and they did a little plug for it. And I think also it's like give him like a good legit opponent before Mox to like for him to go over
Yeah.
on.
Ruby's going to be against someone too, isn't she?
Statlander.
Is that at the All Out?
Yeah.
Or okay.
So I mean that'll be cool. What else? I mean, what didn't we talk about? Oh, what's that?
No, yeah, I was just trying to think of other matches that
there was the pre-show FTW match. I enjoyed that. Hook. I'm glad Hook was at the All In. And Hook won.
I'm glad he won.
Yeah, me too. And there's a decent build to that. It was short-lived build, but there was a build.
Joe and Punk was okay, I guess.
Yeah, it was a good match. I mean, I'm not intrigued by either of those guys.
I was rooting for Joe, first time ever.
Yeah, but it was a good match. Punk, I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
I was shocked. I was shocked that he came out first, like that they actually started with that type. Him.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Because I thought like he would be like one of those like, oh, I gotta be at least the like co-headliner.
I missed a lot of
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know why.
Yeah, I missed a lot of the intros because that's when I would do because there's so little time between matches, and yeah, I might have to go to the bathroom or fix myself a cup of tea or something.
They also did a brilliant job of doing the bookends with MJF and Cole when like they did the tag team match because it got people more incentive to be there early. So when this were here, the main event started, everyone was already there because they wanted to see that match. So that was actually a smart move, I think, on them as well.
I think that's great. Yeah, and
because I feel like it was definitely a lot more packed in at an hour early before than you normally see in most events.
Oh, speaking of going back to the last thing, speaking of entrances, some interesting musical choices. They had Metallica for Sting and Darby Allin, right? They got like a joint song, and then Queen for Saraya. Apparently, I didn't see that, but I found out about it today. My girlfriend was like, "Somebody came out to Queen." I'm like, "I don't remember that," but yeah, Saraya came out to "We Will Rock You." Wouldn't have been my choice of Queen songs.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. When you said Queen, I'm like, I didn't even put two together. I'm like, I don't know. Like because I was probably so fucking stoned and drunk at the time that I'm like, it's a blur.
That's just such an song, but Tony Khan's a big sports guy, so that's like kind of a sports anthem.
He also does put in money. Like he'll get these songs. Like he'll actually spend the money to get these songs, and it does get the crowd going.
Yeah.
Crowd sounded better when Fozzy played. So he only has a good voice, but like I don't know, he was off then, but like the crowd, I mean, you still have 80,000 singing it.
Yeah.
Same thing when like Eddie came out, 80,000 people shouting out Eddie. It's got to feel amazing.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about that. The only other song was like they had Bush, I think. It was like the theme song going through Machine Head. Isn't that Bush?
Yeah, that is. But what song who came out to that?
No, that was just like running throughout the show.
Oh, a song
between
gotcha.
Stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk much about the Stadium Stampede match. We got
it is because to me, like it was all over the place, like it always is. Like every time you have those, a lot of people. I'm not saying it was bad too, but it's like you had so many matches like this that it's like it becomes, and you're like, okay, like you know what I'm saying? Like things happen. Like how many times? All right, Eddie gets hurt. He seems like he's gone. Then all of a sudden he comes back out. We've seen that 3 or 4 times. You know, like it just everything just seems like a repeat of like these type of matches with the blood and this and that. And I still say the forks have got to go. Because to me, I think it's funny when you bust out a fork and you're like, your eye should be totally gone. So like, just get rid of the fork.
Yeah, should get
so I
it.
didn't like that. So I don't know. Like I said, like it just seems like it was so diluted all the time that like I think a lot of people thought that way too. Like even if you read like what people were saying, whatever, they're like, okay, well, this is something that we're used to now. Mox has these matches all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So you're like, I mean, he has that joke that he bleeds all the time. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that one part, the one part though, I'm like, holy fuck, is when he had all those fucking shits in his head.
The skewers.
I tried to take a and the skewers were just like everywhere, like he looked like a porcupine. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like it just became so silly, and you're like, they always try to outdo themselves. I'm like, you guys are gonna like one of you guys are gonna get killed soon. Like something's gonna go the wrong way, and I'm like, why? Why do you have to fucking shove skewers in your fucking head?
I agree with you. I like the skewers. I thought was funny, but like, yeah, I don't know. After a while, it's just like, like Eddie coming out was cool, and everything that happened was cool, but like, it wasn't as intriguing because it was just another one of those matches at this point. The same way, like, you know, I said, like the tag match was kind of like, this is another one of these matches. If I can get a couple of things in before we're done. I don't know if you had, did you have anything else?
Nope.
Kota Ibushi randomly just like didn't factor into that match very much, which was weird. He looked in great shape. He looked in better shape than the previous match. You know, he did a couple of cool things, but like, I don't know, for all of the hype behind him, and I love Kota Ibushi. What's he doing? What are they doing with him? I should say. And then the other thing is like, you know, the women's match is one of my favorite matches, but like very, like the lack of women on the show was pretty bad. Right? There was only two champions who were not represented on this show, and Athena and Statlander. You had guys with every belt you could imagine, trios, ROH TV title, the international title, the ROH champion, the ROH tag belts. Every guy who had a belt was on this show. The TNT belt, even Luchasaurus was there in some aspect. Only 3 women's belts, and 2 of those women weren't anywhere. They got
Statlander still hurt though?
No, she's wrestling on Sunday.
Oh, that's stupid then. Yeah, that makes no sense. Athena doesn't get any love anyway. Like they had this whole thing where Ring of Honor was only going to stay with Ring of Honor, but apparently that only goes for. So,
yeah,
because everyone else is only Athena, because everyone else is everywhere.
It's a shame because she's great.
Yeah,
she's great. All right, we're out of time.
On that note,